and I grabbed my rods, which sent 2,000 volts across my chest. I was feeling this whoosh of Grim Reaper running over my brain.
From EE Tech Media, this is Moore's Lobby, where engineers gather to talk all about circuits. I'm Daniel Bogdanoff. If you've watched any electronics videos on the internet in the last decade, there's a good chance you know today's guest, Mehdi Sadaghdar of the legendary and beloved ElectroBOOM YouTube channel. It's one of the top 50 tech channels on YouTube with nearly 5 million subscribers and 450 million views. Mehdi, thanks for being here.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me.
What's your engineering origin story?
Right after I was born, I was into destroying stuff and putting them back together. So I was kind of a tinkerer to start with. So I guess I can say my destiny was set in stone that I would be some sort of engineer. But then at some young age, one of my relatives bought me some electronic kit that basically one of those, what do you call them? The bistable oscillating LED blinking circuits. Well, I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what electronics was back then. I just got the kit, PCB and some components, soldered them together, and it started blinking, and it just triggered my passion in electronics. So yeah, I started putting kits together. Every week I would drag my mom into some electronics store to buy kits so I could just assemble them and enjoy. And when it was time for me to choose what I wanted to study in university, I went with electronic first, and fortunately, I got accepted there.
So you have a formal engineering training then?
Yeah, I was accepted in one of the better universities in Iran, the University of Tehran. I went there and study. I don't know if it's much different than here actually, except the fact that in Iran, if you get accepted in a good university, you don't have to pay any tuition. That's the difference.
That sounds nice. I spent years paying off student loans.
Yeah, I know. In North America, typically you have to pay, but in Iran, the good universities are government sponsored, so you don't have to pay.
And then you got a master's degree as well, correct?
Yeah. I got that one in Canada, in Simon Fraser University, Vancouver, where I live right now.
Where did you go after school? What did you do and work on?
Well, after my bachelor's degree, I worked for 2 years in Iran. And then after I finished the study here, I pretty much worked on 3-4 different companies, all in electronics, basically in all different fields of industry, especially one of them, PDE, where I worked in. It was a contract design company. So you would get different customers from different industries asking you to design something different, which was great. You would be exposed to a lot of different corners of the industry, like aviation, automotive, medicine, all sort of stuff we designed for, and it was fun. We learned a lot of different things from different industries.
Did you work on any projects there that were especially interesting or surprising?
Well, most of the surprise came from when the project would blow up in your face. But other than that, it was pretty routine design. Pretty much in almost all of them, you learn something new. Every time you have to design something new. Yeah, in some of the companies, it's like that. When you continuously design for the same type of product, then most of the new designs become copy-paste of the old ones with like the updates would be removing the obsolete parts and put new parts in, and maybe some features here or there. But in those type of companies, typically it's mostly the same thing. Yeah. But if you are like a design contractor, every time it's something new, and every time you will learn something new too.
I want to hear more about things blowing up, because that's probably what you're most known for. Can you talk about how you started getting into YouTube and how your channel started to blow up?
Well, I always wanted to have some, share my knowledge, a little bit of knowledge I have. I wanted to share it with a bigger audience. But at the same time, I'm a pretty hardcore introvert. I I have difficulty meeting people live. Well, it's much better now that I've done YouTube for a long time, but like even back in university when I was a teacher assistant, for example, I would walk into the room and just put my back to the students and just write on the whiteboard. I would sweat and had difficulty looking people in the eye and talk to them. But still, I wanted to share the little bit of knowledge I had. So I first made a website and put some information about voltage and current. And soon I realized that I'm competing with Wikipedia. So I gave that one up. But then I also had some friends putting videos on YouTube, which I found interesting, but I didn't know what I wanted to do until I got my hands on an ESD gun and I remembered all the bad things that happened to me or engineers like us at work, just doing normal, regular engineering, like using ESD gun, how many times things can go wrong and you accidentally shock yourself. And I thought, hey, maybe I can just try to reenact them, put them in a video, give people an idea how ESD testing works, and at the same time have some humor in there by getting shocked with the ESD gun. So I made that video, put it on the YouTube. That was my first video. I made a couple of videos after that too, but I just shared them with friends and family, and they had like 100, 200 views. But after 6 months, somebody saw that first video, posted it on Reddit, and it blew up there. Like I had 12 subscribers. I refreshed and it was 300, and I was like, so yeah, well, I mean, when you get interaction with a lot of people and people enjoy what you're making, it's very encouraging and inspires you to continue making more content. And that's what I did.
Do you get recognized in public much? And what's that like as an introvert?
I don't know, maybe once a week I get recognized somewhere in the streets.
Okay.
The interaction is just one-to-one, so it is fine. It's not like I'm standing in front of hundreds of people, which would be 100 times worse.
So you've more or less sworn off live events, which I find is fascinating for someone who has 450 million YouTube views.
I had live events before, and I found them to be painful.
Unlike your videos?
I mean, it was like the thing is that like the build up to the point that you have to go on the stage, like reduces 10 years of your lifespan. As soon as you're on the stage, you forget everything, and it kind of becomes like a fun family member setting that you're just talking with your friends, and so you enjoy that. But afterwards, then it hits you again. Like once I did a Maker Faire event, and then like I had all these problems, and afterwards for 2 days I had stomach pain, like from all the anxiety of having to talk to a bunch of people.
Well, and I think I saw one video of you live and you got shut down because you were gonna like set off the fire alarms or something.
Oh yeah. Well, I wasn't shut down, thankfully, but I don't know if it was a good idea for me to do that anyway. I filled the room with a lot of smoke. Like I was welding indoors, right? And it was making a lot of smoke, and hopefully I didn't cause any problem for people. But it was bright. I don't know. I didn't really thought that through. I usually don't think through for my videos. But like people were sitting there, imagine a whole lot of people sitting in front of you, and you weld in front of them, and none of them has any protection gear, like their eyes are not protected, and you fill the room with smoke and everything. Well, I told them to engage the safety squint and don't look directly at the light. But
so maybe swearing off live events is for the safety of the audience more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably good for everyone else. Less victims.
What is your experience like meeting other YouTubers? How do they respond to you and your content?
Yeah, they like my content, and I like their content. It's always good. Like the science community I think is a very nice community. Everyone tries to support each other, and once I went to ThinkerCon. TinkerCon, which was organized by Destin from Smarter Every Day, and like there were 100 different YouTubers coming. Most of them were makers. And as soon as I got there, it was like I got into a family gathering reunion. It's like everyone watched each other's videos and everyone knew each other, and we felt like we were friends already, although we had not seen each other before that point. It was very fun. I like science community.
It's a really interesting corner of YouTube. If you pulled someone off the street and asked them what YouTube was about, they'd probably say like video games and makeup tutorials and things like that. But there's a very strong science community. How would you explain the science corner of YouTube to someone who's not familiar with it?
Well, I mean, I don't know if anyone is not exposed to science, and well, not particularly science, like the makers and science and physics and all those sort of kind of technical side of internet. Like I see a lot of people that say, "Hey, I wanted to do this. I just went and searched on YouTube and found a video and taught myself how to do it." Like the other day, where I was out with some of the friends, and they have like a 12-year-old son, and he was telling me that I'm putting computers together. I'm buying parts myself and making my own computers. I say, how did you learn that? He said, I learned it from Linus Tech Tips. He taught me everything I need to know. So yeah, I mean, I think everyone, at least with a maker mindset, has been using YouTube for a long time to get the piece of information they need for what they want to do. And it's great that there are a lot of people out there willing to share their information. And, that's how everyone grows. And yeah, like if you are focused only on the beauty and gaming, I would say, don't waste your time. Go learn from makers and scientists out there. Who cares? Well, I mean, you also need entertainment. You can't just always focus on making. But other than that, go learn something from our makers too.
How would you describe the difference between a maker and an engineer?
I would say engineers are type of makers. The difference is that engineers make for money. Most of the time, it's their job. They have to design something and keep their job, otherwise they would be kicked off. But makers, I've seen a ton of makers, and it's always inspiring to see so many people that do a lot of things, not for money, but just for passion. They put things together because they enjoy putting things together and see the result. And it's very inspiring to see those type of people that just like to do things without thinking about the money. So I would say that's the main difference. But I think engineers, they would also have to have a little bit of maker in them. If you are working on something that you enjoy, only then, I think, in my opinion, you will do a good job. So in order to be a good engineer, you have to be a maker at heart as well.
As someone who has also done some YouTube content, I've run into some roadblocks with like professional, more formal engineers who kind of write off the platform overall. What would you say to professional engineers about the value of social media as a learning tool and a way for people to get into tech?
Who writes off YouTube or social media? Well, I think that's a wrong thing to do. Although I don't think social media can completely replace formal education. I think formal education will never lose its value. But the social media is super great, is providing you with essential information around many different topics. Like something to some extent and you want a tiny bit of more knowledge to make it happen. And those nuggets of information exist on social media. It has enabled people to do a lot more. If I wanted to do something and didn't know how to do it without social media, I can't even imagine how I would find that information. I would have to go find some guy in the street with a shop that was doing this and trying to squeeze information out of them. And they wouldn't want to share information because it was their trade secret and stuff like that. But in social media, on YouTube, it's just people who are passionate about what they do and want to share their information. and you find it, and now you have that information. So I would say social media is playing a very huge role in spreading knowledge. Yeah. Like, for example, I watched Keysight videos. It's actually more focused on spreading knowledge. So, like, every time you make a video, sure, you use your own tools, but at the same time, you use them for actual applications that engineers need to use them for. So it provides information that somebody needs to make something or do something. And so that's good.
Yeah, not sponsored.
Not sponsored, yeah.
Speaking of sponsors, we're going to have an ad break in this. Do you want to tease what's coming up next?
Sure.
Coming up after the break, Mehdi tells us his strategy for monetization on YouTube.
Oh, am I doing that?
No. Brandon from Rome is here to talk with us about the YSun technology. Brandon, what's the coolest thing you've seen about YSun out in the wild today?
Canada found out that there was over $80 million of electricity stolen. And after installing YSun, they were able to work with the authorities to find out where that theft was happening.
So what is YSun?
Yeah, so YSun just stands for Wireless Smart Utility Network. And what it really is just a communication protocol that's used for long distances.
What applications are good for YSun and why? Like, who's using it?
Well, the basic application for YSun is really building smart cities.
What should designers keep in mind if they want to start integrating YSun technology?
Well, what's really nice about Rome's solution for the YSun is it's really easy to use. And what it is we have the YSun chip, but we also have integrated in all the firmware and all the protocols around it. So you can just plug it into your system and it will start to communicate with other YSun certified devices.
If people want to learn more about YSun and using Rome YSun modules, where should they go?
Go to rome.com, ROHM, and type in YSun modules.
And now we are back with Mehdi, aka ElectroBOOM. If someone wasn't familiar with your channel and you had to pull 3 videos out of the ElectroBOOM archive, which ones would they be?
Well, I mean, from my archive depend. See, I've made some videos that are not that high in educational content, like my electric guitar. It provides some sort of an educational knowledge, but it's my most viewed video on my channel because I shock myself. See, that's the thing. Like, your most views are not because the content is educational. Typically, when the content is more educational, the views are less. So those high viewed ones are more entertaining, I would say. So yeah, like my electric guitar is the top one. If you want to have fun and get entertained, watch those ones. Or my Jacob's ladder actually is educational and entertaining. Mm-hmm. But like the other ones that I really enjoyed was when I put the Tesla coil together, or I made my magic wand together, which makes very high static voltage.
That was a fun one to watch. It looked technically challenging to get that thing working. Can you explain that a little bit, the wand?
Yeah, the magic wand is basically creates, I'm guessing, around 100 to 200 kilovolts or more or less at the output by using the battery here and a ZVS circuit that provides, 8 to 10 kilovolts, and then a whole bunch of all these bumpy things you see here are diodes and capacitors of multiplier circuit, which is like a 15-stage multiplier circuit that add up that 8 to 10 kilovolts to somewhere around 100 to 200 kilovolts. And then when you press the button, it turns on and you can shock people badly or kill your instruments, which I did in my video. Accidentally, that is. I killed like 3-4 different wall adapters.
So super high voltage, dangerous or not? What's dangerous here?
Super high voltage is dangerous as long as it can provide enough current. And what that means is that, like, every power supply has a series resistance to it. Like a voltage supply has a series resistance, which limits the current. So if you look at the output of the voltage supply, if you draw current from it, the voltage drops. So as long as you can hold the high voltage at the level it is, you'll die. But if your voltage supply, when you draw current from it, the output voltage drops, then it can be less harmful, because then dropping the voltage limits the current that goes through your body and you don't get hurt. Because it's not the current that the current running through your body kills you, that's true. But it's the voltage that creates current. So to say that it's the current that kills you and not the voltage is not true. Like if there is it was funny, like in one of my Maker Faire presentations I was doing, I was telling the audience, like, if you have a thick wire that 500 amps is running through it and you hold on to that wire, likely nothing will happen to you, because it's the voltage across your body that dictates how much current runs through your body, not the current flow running through some conductor. And the guy, I was seeing in someone's face that the guy was surprised from me saying it, and like he was ready to jump at me and contradict me, but but then I think he realized what I'm talking about. It's the voltage across your body that dictates how much current runs through your body. And the amount of time too. So voltage times current times time is energy. So I guess you could say it's the amount of energy going through your body which dictates if you're going to live or die.
Fair enough. So debunking, you debunked that. What else have you taken great pleasure in debunking, and what have you given up debunking?
I don't enjoy it, because debunking means that there is some false information out there which people are believing, which requires me to go and debunk. I don't like false information to be out there to start with. But I mean, there are a lot of channels that make fake instruments, for example, say, okay, if you add this, or actually there are companies that sell fake garbage. Like, for example, they sell this thing that say, if you plug it into your power outlet, it will reduce your power consumption by, 90% or something. And then you get that instrument yourself and you open it up and it's only a single capacitor in there and it's not going to do anything. It's just make me angry. So yeah, I mean, there is a ton of garbage out there that are making money out of people's ignorance, pretty much. Like, not everyone knows about electronics, right? And so when somebody sells a product, people assume that because it's being sold, it must be legitimate, which is not. So I debunk those and debunk all the fake claims about, like, if you wrap your wire around your cell phone, your internet service is going to be 100 times. And of course, there is these free energy stuff that I was debunking for a while, like people claiming putting together these devices that would continuously create energy without taking energy from anywhere else, making free energy, basically. Yeah. And I was debunking those until I realized that there are so many crap videos out there. Like, there are channels dedicated to this junk that they just get a whiteboard eraser and glue it to a remote control and put a screwdriver on it and it makes free energy. Like, what can I say about that? It's obviously garbage. If somebody's going to believe that, I don't know what I can do about it anymore. Just pisses me off.
Shifting gears a little bit, your trademark is the pain. Like, you get hurt in your channel. Is it real or is it fake? And have you faked things before for views?
Well, of course. My whole existence relies on being not dead, I guess. So I use my knowledge to make sure that I don't get hurt, or at least I don't get badly hurt. So I typically try to keep everything that can go wrong in my videos, but I write a script around it and see if I can actually do it, or how I do it safely, how I fake it well. I try to fake it as much as possible, but then things happen. Like, yeah, on camera, off camera, in just regular life of engineer, things go wrong. You always have to be careful, but things always go wrong. You burn your fingers, you get shocked, and things of that sort. So I try not to hurt myself, but I sometimes get hurt accidentally. And the goal is to keep all of them on video and monetize them.
Okay, what's the philosophy behind showing all that, other than it's entertaining?
Well, yeah, I mean, my thought is that, well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely entertaining, but the whole point is that if I do a project cleanly, especially a project that I know that it can be quite risky and things can go wrong, and when you're doing it, you can get badly hurt. I think if you just cleanly put it together and present it on the web, it's like people will take it as an instruction manual to make the same thing and not knowing what can go wrong. Although in a lot of those videos, people say, hey, don't try this at home. If you're saying don't try this at home, why are you making the video then? Like if you're making an instruction video to make something and then you say don't try it at home, it doesn't even make sense. Like people are going to try it. And I think the most entertaining way, and probably in my mind, the most effective way to show people that something can go wrong and it can be very harmful, is to keep those mistakes and hurting in the video so people can see that when something bad can happen and what is the danger level. Will you die or will you go blind because your capacitor pierces your eye or something? So, like, seeing it in my video, in my opinion, seeing it happen in real life will, I think, have a greater impact on people to be more careful. Either the hurting is so bad that it will completely discourage people to do the project, or if it's not too bad and they want to still do it, they know what is coming to them. So I think it's good to keep people safe.
I I also agree. Speaking of not trying things at home, can you tell us about the microwave transformer incident?
Oh yeah, the microwave transformer incident. I have a lovely microwave transformer in one of my compartments back there. Basically, what I was trying to do when I got to 1 million subscribers, I wanted to celebrate it with a fun project. So I thought to make a Jacob's ladder, which is basically like two metal rods. You put high voltage across them, it arcs from the shorter distance, which is at the bottom, and because it is hot, the arc rises and expands. But in order for the arc to rise and expand, there must be enough energy present to keep the arc going at a longer distance. And for that, I use my microwave oven transformer, which can output a ton of power at 2000 volts. So it's one of those power supplies that doesn't have a large output resistance. So if you draw current from it, the voltage doesn't really drop, which is quite dangerous. And what I did was, the mistake was that I tried to do some mechanical engineering, which is not my forte, you would say. And the base I made for my Jacob's ladder was very small and light, and it was top heavy. So when it arced, the arcs actually shook the ladder and it fell on me. And me being an idiot thought, hey, it shouldn't touch my body, so let's grab it with both hands. And I grabbed my rods, which sent 2000 volts across my chest. I was feeling this whoosh of probably Grim Reaper running over my brain. And I got contracted. My body, my muscle got contracted. And thanks to my flimsy wires that were connected to the microwave transformer, when I got contracted, I pulled them off the transformer and it got disconnected and saved me. Otherwise, I would be just a piece of cooked bacon right now.
That's terrifying.
Yes.
That's like legitimately terrifying.
Yeah, and I was like, right after, I went and just laid down on the floor, heavy breathing and sweating and thanking the universe that I didn't die. I couldn't film for the rest of the day. The next scene you see in the video, I actually did the next day, acting like I was shocked right then. But yeah, I was kicking myself for doing that and also debating if I should keep that in the video or not. And I think it was a good decision from the point of view that people now see that when you play with that transformer, you could die. For some other videos, I made Lichtenberg figures, which like you burn these arc-like shapes in the wood using high voltage, which people typically use the microwave oven transformers and things of that sort. And people removed my videos on that subject because they said people tried to make the same art and people had got hurt or died, so we can't have that sort of content on YouTube.
Yeah, I think they've even banned them from like woodworking competitions, anything with Lichtenberg figures, because it's been such a hazardous thing for folks.
But I'm thinking I want to make the same video again, but I want to make it safe. I want people to be able to make those figures without dying. So I'm going to design something that even when you touch it, you won't die.
Okay.
If that's possible. We'll see.
That sounds absolutely terrifying, but also right up your alley. Something else that's maybe a bit controversial is YouTube rivalries. You've had a couple over the years, notably the one you just wrapped up with Steve Mould in the mechanical engineering space. Can you shed some light on that and the YouTube rivalry game as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the type of rivalry you talk about. I think in science world, rivalry ends up teaching people something, which is good when two scientists disagree and they tackle a subject online. And like, for example, the video I did with Steve Mould, which was more mechanical engineering, which is way lower than my pay grade. I mean, mechanical engineering. Everyone can do that. I mean, you are born with a knowledge of mechanical engineering. You can move your hands and joints and see how you know how to throw things and stuff. You're already a mechanical engineer, but electronic engineer is something different. You have to learn it in school. So yes, I thought to myself, hey, with Steve Mould's project, I thought, hey, it's mechanical engineering, let's do it. So we did 6 videos about it, and eventually I lost, which proves that, hey, maybe some aspects of mechanical engineering are more complicated than you know. But still, it's just mechanical engineering. Who cares?
So we can all agree that electrical engineering is better than mechanical engineering.
Of course, it's the superior knowledge, electrical engineering. You know electrical engineering, you know everything.
I agree.
Yes. Other than that, rivalry on internet in the science community, as long as it's not mindless rivalry, like for example, between me and Steve, we are friends. So it was a fun, friendly rivalry. And we had real disagreements. And this disagreement actually opened a lot of new knowledge that we didn't know, or we had to go deep into understanding of how things work. And it taught us and our audience, I hope, a lot of new things. So it's good to have science rivalry.
Well, and even like engineering or university folks were writing academic papers on the subject, and it got pretty rigorous, I would say.
Yeah, I think like there were, I don't know, 5, 6 different papers, and not just university people. I would receive messages from people which like wrote 10 pages of complicated analysis that were like beyond, went over my head, most of it, like a ton of complicated, which is, I guess those areas of mechanical engineering that I wasn't very familiar with. But yeah, I mean, like a lot of people put a lot of time in it to understand and make us and each other understand how it worked, which was great. A ton of people made videos, like, I don't know, 100 people made videos, and they were sharing it with me, and I was watching every one of them. It was fun.
Do people steal your videos at all?
I see a lot of people copy bits and pieces of my videos and share it on their own channels. Like early days of YouTube, I would report every one of them. Hey, why did you copy my video? And after a while, I realized that when people take like bits and pieces of my videos that they find interesting and share it on their own social media, even without credit, it brings me audience. Like people go and search and find me as a result. So even those bits without credit reach audience that wouldn't otherwise find me.
Have you ever been credited with anything that wasn't yours and you're like, no, take my name off of that?
I mean, sometimes I know some people, like this conspiracy theory people, use like bits and pieces of my videos to prove their point. So I had to go there and make a debunk video and say, hey, I said this, but that doesn't mean what they say. I was running my Tesla coil in a vacuum, and I was putting something that would spin on top of my Tesla coil from the electricity that was going off of the end. And when you run it in vacuum, it stops turning. And the guy took that and says, so see, propulsion in space is impossible because it's vacuum in space, and plasma thrusters wouldn't work in space. It's all NASA's conspiracy, and they ran all the moon landing in the underwater studios and things. So he was just going off the charts saying junk, and I had to make a video about it.
Equal and opposite reaction, right?
Yeah.
Why did you start making videos in the first place? And do you feel like making videos counts as making?
Yeah, I think so. I started making my videos not for the money, but for the passion and seeing people that enjoy my work and, putting things together. I do a lot of projects that don't go on the camera, not electrical specifically. I build something at home. I make something with wood, more mechanical engineering, I guess, on the side. I make a ton of things on the side that don't make it in my YouTube channel. YouTube started as kind of a maker mindset because I wanted to make something and I wanted to share it with people.
Yeah, I was trying to fix a closet door in my house and I was Googling it. And sure enough, one of your other channels that I didn't know existed popped up, and it was one of those folding,
yes.
Accordion doors.
They always fall apart, those folding doors, yeah. I just nailed them together and now they're fine.
Yeah, here's Mehdi fixing a closet door for me.
Exactly.
I've seen a report that says, historically kids wanted to be like astronauts and that sort of thing. There's a big movement now where kids want to be YouTubers. Do you have any advice for parents who are parenting children that want to be YouTubers, or people that might be wanting to start up a YouTube channel for themselves?
Well, for the parents, I would say if your child is too young and you want to let them do YouTube, then disable comments, especially if they're too young. Because I know, especially when you're a kid, even when I started doing YouTube, I would get a good comment which would raise me to heaven, and I would get a bad comment which would throw me to hell. It was a emotional roller coaster at the beginning, but over time I learned that, hey, I shouldn't be bothered with people's comments. If people are nice, it's good. If they're not, who cares? For adults, grow up.
What's your favorite thing about making ElectroBOOM videos and that ElectroBOOM community?
It's interesting. I can never figure out if something I make will have a lot of views or a little views. But whatever I put out, people are so nice. If it gets a little bit of views or a lot of views, comments are almost, 99, 100% nice. And that's the great enjoyment I get from making my content, that I am making something that makes other people happy, entertains them, teaches them something, and that's why I keep going.
It's great that the community is so supportive for you. Where do you find your inspiration for new content? Favorite movies, favorite YouTube channels?
My favorite movie is Matrix, but that's not funny, really. But the jokes that make me laugh are the ones that something funny happens that you don't expect, and that's what I try to repeat in my videos. But those kind of jokes are what I really enjoy.
I think there was a moment where in one of your videos you had an oscilloscope on a car engine and it tumbled, and I literally reached towards my screen to stop it from falling.
Yes.
What goes into a good jump scare?
Yeah, well, the best jump scare is one that even you, the filmmaker, don't expect it. So everything is genuine. For example, that laptop that fell, I wasn't expecting it to fall, and my daughter was in the video too, in front of the scope, and she didn't try to hold it from falling too because she was too young. She didn't know the value of the scope. If it was me, I would jump and grab it. So she just watched it fall, boom, which was fun. I almost deleted it because it wasn't a part of a script. But then I realized that, hey, it was funny. Let's keep it in. But I told my daughter that, hey, if it's going to fall, please grab it. I don't want it to fall and break.
Got to send out some weird emails.
No, you would get a weird
Right.
email. Hey, I broke the scope. Can you send me a new one?
It's happened. If you were going to choose a capacitor for its explosion potential, what's your go-to capacitor? And do you have like a whole room full of them?
Well, you can buy them from DigiKey tape and reel. I buy them in 50 buckets of 50 and then slowly blow them up. But the ones that blow up the best are the ones that are lowest voltage, like, I don't know, 10 volt or something, the small ones. You might think the bigger capacitors blow better, but no, that's not the case. Especially on bigger capacitors, they put these grooves on top of the capacitor so that when the pressure builds up inside, the groove forms a crack and the gases come out, and it doesn't blow up. It just makes a little bit of smoke. It's pretty disappointing in my videos, so I don't go with them. I go with the ones that when the pressure builds up, it can actually blow up spectacularly in my videos.
So really going for that firecracker effect.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for being here. It's been a blast.
Oh, no problem. It was fun.
If you haven't already, go check out the ElectroBOOM YouTube channel. You will not be disappointed. And there are infinitely more capacitor explosions over there than we had here in the last hour. Thank you for joining me in the lobby today. You can find the full show notes over at allaboutscircuits.com. I'm your host, Daniel Bogdanoff, and I'll catch you next time. So, real quick, your chair seems to be squeaking a little bit. I don't know if...
How do you like it?
It's some nice ambiance, but...
Well, let me see if I can lock it in place or something. Oh, it's actually worse now.
Kate's asking if that's a chair you fixed in a video.
Oh, it is the chair I fixed in the video, yeah.
Maybe time for part 2.